Welcome to the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Here we chat to some of today's best small business leaders, individuals who are shaking up their industry and dominating their niche. The show tackles all things business growth, from strategy, marketing and branding, and delves into the secrets of what it takes to dominate your niche. The aim of this podcast is to empower founders with big dreams, small and micro businesses, and even solopreneurs who are looking to make a big impact. People who are hungry to learn from those who have gone before them and implement that knowledge to next level in their own business. So welcome, lean in, and then go take action to propel yourself towards dominating your niche in your small business. Welcome to the latest episode of the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Gillian Palmer, the Managing Director of Lending Made Simple and the founder of the Finance Hub, where she skillfully navigates the complexities of business loans and cash flow solutions for her clients. Gillian is what I would call a serial entrepreneur. She has over 25 years of experience in starting, growing, acquiring, and selling successful businesses. And she possesses an in-depth understanding of what business owners and entrepreneurs need to achieve their ambitions, being flexible, agile, and having affordable financing solutions, backed by authentic support and strategic insight. Key themes we covered include doing things differently, actually understanding your clients, changing the way people do business, cash flow and growth financing challenges and how to solve them, the challenges of international acquisitions, and doing what you do really well and passing on the rest to somebody else. An insightful, fun, and inspiring episode. I can't wait for you to listen. Hi, Gillian. Welcome to the podcast.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Great to have you with us. So, Gillian, you are what I personally call a serial entrepreneur. You've had multiple different businesses over the years, and your newest business is now expanding across the UK. So I would love to know the early days in your story. How did you get started in your own business, and how did you come to be where you are today?
Okay, so thank you for having me today, Ruth.
You're welcome.
So my career as an entrepreneur started when I was about 27. So I'd started actually my career in London working for Xerox, working my way up through the kind of the ranks there from telemarketing, telesales, field sales, key sales. And then an opportunity came up to go back home to Dublin and open up a Xerox concessionaire, which is a bit like a dealership. It had been a successful program in the UK, and there wasn't any in Ireland, so there was an opportunity for me and my brother, who we both worked for Xerox. So we sold our houses, packed up, went home, sat at his dining room table, and went, "Oh, how do we do this?"
That moment that honestly so many people have, like they quit their jobs, they get started on their own, and they're literally like, oh shit, how do I find clients and make money?
Yeah, but one thing I did know how to do, I knew how to bang on doors and sell photocopiers.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and it was cold and rainy, and I was miserable. I was like, what am I doing? I had a lovely cushy job in London. Anyhow, it became very successful very quickly, and I think the reason being, in business, I always like to kind of look and do things differently from everybody else.
Yeah.
And we were moving from kind of an analog world to a digital world, and we just got the technology quick, probably quicker than other people. But we also, I believe in bringing in teams to do the job properly. So I do think a lot of business owners try to take on all tasks, and you can't be all things. I know I'm a really good salesperson, but I'm not a technical person.
Yeah.
So we brought the right teams in to make sure that we could deliver on what we said we could do. So really, instead of, you've your big photocopy in the corner and your printer on your desk and your scanner down in the print room, we then gave a solution that was all encompass, and multifunction, and people were just blown away at how good the technology was and how good my team were.
Amazing. So it was innovation from a tech perspective. it was bringing in the team to complement your skill set or your lack of skill set in certain areas. And it was just doing an excellent job.
Well, it was also changing my clients the way they do business.
Love it. So real innovation there.
Yeah, that's what I could see. There's a better way. Just
Mhm.
give an example on that. So I dealt with a lot of the banks and uh, traders and that, and the documents when they trade is really really so important. And they were faxing it, from New York to Dublin to yeah. And I was like, well, hold on, how about we change the whole cycle of how you actually do your business?
Wow.
And we can scan it, we can authenticate it, we can, so just help them change the way they actually did business. And you do it for one, and they tell their mates, and they, so we grew that, and in about year four, I think we were turning over about 3 million at that stage. So we grew
Mm,
it very, very quickly. And then actually Xerox approached us and said, look, there was a business in Belfast that was of a very similar size actually, and were we interested in buying the business? One of the directors stayed on, wanted to stay on, but the others wanted to retire. So we did. So we literally went to about 6 million overnight.
wow.
Yeah.
And talk to me about the challenges of growth at that rate, because I know there's going to be people listening to this who are going to be like, hell yes, that sounds amazing. That is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
But actually, the reality of going through that, it's
Mhm.
thrilling, it's exciting, it's also really challenging, I imagine.
Absolutely. And funny enough, because I'm actually having an acquisition event on Wednesday, because people don't realize, well, you grow to a certain size organically,
Hmm.
get to a stage where you think, do you know what? I've done enough of this, grown to a certain size. I'm going to buy my competitors. And you learn a lot, but the biggest challenge for me, which I didn't foresee actually, was that we bought a business in Belfast. Now, that's a different country, it's
Hmm.
a different currency. It's got
Mm.
majorly different HR laws.
Wow.
Um, so actually, what I didn't foresee, was that normally if you buy your mate across the road, you will probably move both businesses into one building
Hmm.
without big costs. You will probably lose some of the staff, and and the economies of scale start to
Hmm.
in.
Yeah.
And that's why an acquisition is a fantastic way to grow a business.
Mm.
However, we couldn't do any of that. And I didn't foresee that. But, I was 32 years of age. I thought I could do anything.
Well, I
So,
think you've proved that you could do anything, but not
but
without challenges along the way.
oh, honestly, and when I look back, like literally all I started to do was work harder, spend more time on the road. I had a young child. I was up and down
Mm,
that road 2 hours up, 2 hours back.
gosh, it's a lot.
Yeah, in hindsight, when I look back years later, um, I'm not sure it was the best thing, but you
Mm,
learn all these things as an entrepreneur, and each time you learn, I had a chat with a client earlier, and he said, "Oh God, I grew really quickly," and each time you grow and you learn, you make mistakes, you make loads of. Still,
yeah,
I still make mistakes, day to day, and
we
you
all do.
only make them once. You only make them once.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh, I love it. I love it. So, what prompted you to wrap up that business over there? And you came back to the UK and started a whole new business.
Yeah. Yeah. So we grew it to about 7 million, and it was a fantastic business with 42 staff. It really was a great business. I mean, 5 million of our turnover was service revenue, so that just rolled. So it really was fantastic. I think the pressure of it got to me, the receipts
Hmm.
kicking in. We had some bad debt, big bad debt, in January 2009. And in fact, I just said, I can't take this. I think we need to sell it.
Hmm.
My brother didn't agree with me.
And your brother was your co-director,
Yeah,
co-owner,
50-50, 50.
50-50.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's tricky actually because no one had the deciding vote.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a big fall now. We did.
Oh, bless you.
So what we did is we took in an external consultant and asked
Hmm.
them to look at it and come back with some ideas. So they did. It was like sell or cut out loads of costs. And I'm just not that. I'm not that person to say, right, let's get rid of half the staff, let's, So I decided, well, I decided, and then my brother agreed eventually that actually selling up, I'd had it at
Mm.
10 years,
Yeah.
and it was great.
And
And I,
also technology moves on as well. So you probably sold at a really good time.
yeah, absolutely.
Love
Absolutely.
it. And listen, I want to link back to something you just briefly touched on earlier. And you said a certain very large percentage of your business, you told me numbers, the numbers are gone, was service revenue.
Yeah.
So just for anyone listening to this, what I just want to highlight here is that service revenue. It was a recurring, I'm imagining,
Yeah,
recurring monthly or annual revenue is
totally. Yeah.
coming in. It's not sales, it's maintaining the copiers. And actually, for a sort of, I'm trying to think of the words, for
You're
gosh, I'm
talking
gonna have
about the
to,
value per sale.
yeah, so I'm not talking about value per sale actually, but I'm just, I'm talking in day-to-day cash flow. It's really valuable to have that consistent cash flow coming into the business that you can depend upon.
Or not.
Or not, or not.
Yeah, and that was a major difficulty because the service revenue was based on people using the photocopier. So every time
Okay.
you got charged. And in fact, we charged quarterly.
Hmm.
So we didn't effectively bill you until after you had done the work.
Hmm.
And therefore, it was kind of 3 to 4 months, then we will bill you. And then I probably wasn't getting paid for 60 days most of the time. So
Gosh,
actually,
that's a massive
that
lag in cash flow.
massive, and especially when you're invoicing what nearly 500,000 a month in service revenue. Yeah, that was a massive challenge along the way. Always was. I like cash
Wow.
flows in every business.
Okay. So the point I was trying to make is it's in some businesses where you bring in, a lot of your income is sales dependent, it can be really beneficial to have that recurring monthly revenue. But really, really good point actually is that in this particular business model, there was such a delay in doing that work and that revenue actually coming in that it caused you cash flow difficulties.
Major, yeah,
And
absolutely.
actually, that probably brings us quite nicely to one of your next businesses.
Mm.
Tell me about coming back to the UK and starting up Lending Made Simple. Was that the next one?
No, it wasn't
Oh, I
actually.
didn't know that.
You missed 3 years in between, you didn't know that. So yeah, so I prefer living in the UK. My son was 8 years of age,
Mhm.
and I knew he was quite an unusual child. He's actually become a man now, and he's a horticulturist. So I knew he was going to take a bit of a quirky path, and I just felt that the UK was going to give him that better opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. It's a lot warmer here as well.
Yes, a little bit. Uh,
So you've got a Scot and an Irish woman on this call.
yeah. Oh yes, moving down south. So we moved over and I decided I would take a little bit of time off and become a full-time mummy for a bit. Which
Oh, interesting. I was going to say, how did you get on with that?
I didn't do. It didn't suit me. I'm a much better person when I'm busy. I'm a better
Yeah.
mum. I end up on the PTA, all sorts of, so I did enjoy my time. But however, my local 500-year-old pub came up for sale and I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
And I bought the lease of this pub. Oh God. Um, and I did turn it around. I put a bed and breakfast into it. The place was packed all the time.
Mhm.
In fact, it's a destination pub. In fact, I'm not sure it's been successful really since
Mm.
put it. Um, and yeah, so it was good fun. It was always busy, but oh boy, I worked 7 days a week, and
Yeah.
it took my life away. You know,
Yeah.
at
And
that
with a still quite young child at
yeah,
that point,
teenager.
it's
Yeah,
really challenging.
absolutely. And I just thought, you know what, life, you got to value your time.
Hmm.
And it wasn't right for my son, and it wasn't right for me either, even though I loved it. So I sold that.
Love it.
Yeah, and I thought, oh God, I actually went back and did a bit of consultancy work in the photocopier world, but it just wasn't doing it. Yeah. Yeah, I'd lost my mojo for it really. And I told
Mm.
the boss that I said, look, I was managing a team and I said to him, I've lost my mojo for this. So I am looking for something new, but this is my
Mhm.
career. So I've got to choose. Yeah, I want to be as passionate.
Mm,
I mean, I actually sold photocopiers for 15, 20 years, and I was passionate about it for a very long time.
mm.
And I'm a real 200% or 20%.
Yeah,
I either
yeah.
can't get out of bed because I'm not interested, or I bounce out of bed at about 5 o'clock most mornings.
Love it.
So I needed something, so he was like, wow, if this is you with no mojo, I can't imagine what you were like with a mojo. Um, so I went out networking. A friend of mine said, "Come networking." I said, "What's networking?" And I bumped into somebody who the first person I think I bumped into, and we didn't stop talking all night. And he rang me the next day and he said, "Would you meet me for a coffee?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Look," he said, "I work for a very large firm of accountants, and we've just started a finance brokerage, and we're looking for a sales director." And I said, "I don't know
Interesting.
anything about finance." And he said, "Well, have a think about it." And he said,
Mm,
so he said, "Do some research."
hmm.
I work in what's called the alternative funding market. So predominantly what happens after you get turned down from the high street.
Okay.
Although now I actually do deal with the high street, but in those days it's anybody gets turned down from their own bank, they come to a broker and we then fish around the alternative funding market.
So it's the trickier situation, trickier lending, trickier financing situations you deal with.
Don't find it true. I love it.
No, 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 but as in like if the bank can't do it, it's probably not that standard a situation.
Yeah.
So it's more complex cases that you
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah, yeah. Or in this day and age, it's kind of nearly every case, because most people, they just can't get lending off their banks,
Yeah.
you know. So so I looked into it and I thought, this is quite exciting actually.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So they asked me to go up to London to meet the CEO of this huge company, which I didn't think was so big. I didn't even do any homework. I got the train up and I got to the office. I went, wow. And I sat in the boardroom with about 50 seats with the CEO. And I said to him, "I'm not sure why you're interviewing me because I don't know anything about finance." And
Hmm.
that's all right because we don't know anything about sales.
Perfect. Match made in heaven.
It was me trying to talk myself out of a job. Um, Anyhow, when I started and I started looking at these products, these financial products, and this is, we talked earlier about finding doing things differently from other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And looking outside the box. And I think the fact that I came into finance not coming from a financial institution or a bank or, I actually came in with totally fresh eyes because
Yeah.
I wasn't trained on a product in a bank, or I wasn't trained in a specific type of client. I literally went out networking, spoke with business owners, understood their pain because I've been there and I'm still
Hmm.
still there. I still feel the pain myself. Um, and then I find the solutions. And
Love
that,
it.
yeah, I like it's not difficult. People go, "Oh my God, finance must be so." I actually don't find it difficult. But anyhow, I didn't last very long, as you'd imagine.
I
Me going to work for somebody after
I
working.
was going to say the word unemployable springs
Yeah,
to mind.
it was like, "This is the way I'm doing it." No, this is the way you've got to do it. No. So anyhow, I put a call into the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, and said, "Look, I'm thinking about going out on my own. This is an unregulated industry. I don't really know a lot, but I do know about business, and I'm very professional. I've always run professional businesses. Um, and I'd like to do it differently." And they said,
Mm.
"Absolutely no reason why you can't do that, Gillian." So I Googled, I actually brainstormed with a friend of mine all these different words and lending and make it simple and easy. And, we come up with lending made simple.
Love it.
And I Googled lendermadesimple.co.uk. Oh, I'll buy that. Lender Made Simple.
Tick.
Yeah, Lender Made Simple Limited. Nobody's had that. Bang, I'll buy that. So I was a limited company by the end of the day. Uh, and then just found some kid to kind of make me a really horrendous branding and a website and a pop-up banner and some business cards, and within 2 weeks I was on the road. But what I actually realized after kind of a year or two, it was hard. It was really hard because people didn't trust me. "Well, what do you know?" And even when I went to the finance shows, and finance is a very male dominated industry as well.
Mm.
And I remember going on my own to the first finance show and standing on a stand, and no one would speak to me. No one would speak to me. They were little
Wow.
circles of their mates, and they didn't even look at me. And I was like, Right. So I went into the toilet, I put my red lippy on, and I said, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to take control of this situation. So what I did was I walked along each stand and I looked at the name above and I looked at their banners and I thought, no, I don't talk to you. I want to talk to you, right?
Yeah.
You,
Yeah. That is exactly how I go through the expos.
you can add value to my clients, you know. So what I actually do, and I think this is probably what I do different from other brokers, is I I learn about the business. What do you do?
Hmm.
Where did you come from? You know, what's your ambitions? Where are you going to go, or where are you hoping to go? And because the finance that you put into that business depends on how aggressively you want to grow.
Hmm.
Oh, if you're just plodding along, you want to take on one member of staff, and you think, oh yeah, and I'll do that, and I'll see how it goes,
Hmm.
then that's a certain type of finance. If you
Hmm.
into me, like I had a chap on the phone earlier who'd gone from like 15 grand a month turnover to he did a 500,000 in a few months, right? And
Wow. And that's quite a leap as well. Like that's quite a
God,
scary place to be in many ways.
yeah, a very
Like
scary.
amazing,
Yeah,
but like
yeah,
terrifying.
absolutely. And he said, I think I prefer to be back in my bedroom at 15 grand, you know. Uh, well, you know, it's scary. And but if you want to grow that aggressively, then you've got to invest aggressively.
Hmm.
Know. Yeah, you probably got to borrow aggressively as well. So I understand that and I get it. So I asked them the whole picture, and then I go out and look for what type of funding will maybe fit them now, and then also tell them what I think will fit them as that growth happens.
Oh, amazing.
And they just come with me on the journey forever, really, and come back time and time again as they grow.
Perfect. And that's a good business model because it's built on relationship and
Oh,
that depth of relationship and understanding your client.
mhm.
So lending made simple, like the key market there is business financing. And we've touched on this already that one of the struggles that a lot of businesses have is in that area of finances, of being able to make the moves they want to invest in certain things, and also sometimes just cash flow dips. Um, so I love that there's a solution to all of these challenges. And I think it's something that many small businesses aren't actually aware of. And I've had like people come to me, more than once, honestly, really freaking out because they've realized that they are not going to get paid
Mhm.
from a certain, you know, a certain invoice isn't going to come in
Absolutely, yeah.
or another big one is going out.
Yeah,
And it's often when that business is in a period of significant growth and
always.
they just get caught off guard. It doesn't, the numbers don't quite match up with the timeline. And the risk to them is actually often that the business goes under.
Absolutely.
So I would love to know. So that's one example of a challenge. Um, what are the options for somebody in that situation? And then what other types of challenges do you see?
Okay.
And what sort of solutions are available? Because I want people to come away from this podcast just knowing that they have options.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you know, when people come to me in all those sort of scenarios, it's generally at a growth stage. Yeah,
Mhm.
won a new contract. Okay, so they've won a contract from the council, and all of a sudden they've got to take on five extra staff, five
Mhm.
maybe vans. Yeah,
Yeah.
or get a bigger warehouse, a bigger office, something like that. But they've got to upfront those costs
Mhm.
now until they get those people trained and everything. So there's generally a lag of 3 to 6 months even
Yeah.
before they see the value of that. And nearly every one of my clients say to me, I wish I met you years ago.
Yeah.
Wish I would have grown, because I'll say to them, something like that. I'll either say to them, well, vans, we can get you asset finance. But however, maybe that's not the right solution because if you're going to be taking on, let's say, a new warehouse and you're kitting it out, that's a kind of long-term investment in your business.
Mhm.
And like the vans and that, they're longer term investment in your business. So I'll analyze what's longer term, what's shorter term, because longer term should be longer term lending.
Mhm.
Short term, which is a day-to-day cash flow, should be a
Mhm.
cash flow solution. Something that you shouldn't take out a 5-year loan because you're taking on five members of staff
Mhm.
to pay them all their yearly wages up front. And people say that all the time. "Oh, I want to take on enough money for these five staff, 12 months wages." Well, why? Because after 3 to 6 months, they should be paying for themselves.
Mhm.
You should be seeing the
And
benefit.
and if they're not, you should maybe rethink hiring.
Yeah, yeah. So I would then say, right, well, let's look at the longer term stuff and maybe get you a business loan of, 5, 6 years, something like that. Spread it over the time you're going to use that premises and those
Mhm.
plans, yeah, and pay for it as it goes effectively. And then let's look at maybe having a little backup cash flow solution. So that might be one of my absolute favorite products is called a revolving cash flow.
Ooh, I've heard of these. I think I've been speaking to one of your clients actually.
Every,
Sounds
every
amazing.
every one of my customers, I don't let them not have one because
Yeah,
it's effectively an overdraft that you don't pay for it when you're not using it.
yeah.
Because what tends to happen if you're lucky enough to get an overdraft from your bank, which most of my clients don't,
Mhm.
is you start to live in it. So let's say you have £30,000 and you just start to live in there and
Mhm.
and you're paying for it the whole time because you're in that overdraft. With a revolving cash flow facility, it sits outside on a platform in the
Mhm.
bank, in the lender's pocket, if you like, but ring fenced for you. And only when you need it. So for instance, oh God, I've got to pay the wages on Wednesday,
Mm.
um, and this invoice hasn't been paid.
Mhm.
So Tuesday night you will draw down your £10,000, whatever, for your wages, and then the interest is calculated every day. So let's say by Friday you get paid, you upload straight away.
Mm.
And then at the end of the month, they say, well, you used that amount for those days and actually didn't use it for the rest. So you only pay interest when you use it.
That's amazing. And obviously, there's an upfront cost to set it up,
Yeah.
and it's probably quite a high interest rate. So it's not suitable for somebody who's looking for longer term financing, but it just gives you that amazing short term flexibility. Is
Well,
that
well,
good?
absolutely. And if you did draw it down over 30 days, yes, it would be expensive. And that's why I said,
Mhm.
if you want it solidly, then we look at the longer
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It is not to be used in that way. And if you use it properly, and you know what? Every client that uses it renews it every year. Every
Yeah.
client.
Of course, because it gives you that security.
And then it gives
Amazing.
you also the confidence to go and win more business.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Are you ready to grow your business this year? Join me for Supercharge Your Month, a 60-minute clarity and strategy workshop to reflect, plan, and get super strategic to make your growth dreams a reality. The first Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. for just £97, or free if it's your first time. My gift to you. Book on now via the show notes. See you there. So, from Lending Made Simple has come your newest baby, your newest business, the Finance Hub. Now, we've touched earlier on innovation, and this business, from my perspective, certainly is quite innovative because it's really shaking up how things are done in the finance sector. Can you tell us a bit about the
Yeah.
business model behind the Finance Hub and what inspired you to do it that way?
Yeah, indeed. So the main reason that I came up with the concept of the Finance Hub was really grown off the back of my clients from Lending Made Simple. They would come back to me after I got them alone and they go, God, you really did make it simple. Do you do property? And I don't do property because
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that you do what you do really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
You find somebody that does the alternatives and you hand it to them and let them, I used to say I did property and I analyzed my business one Christmas. I always sit down around that time of year and analyze the business. And I looked at the lending side and I was getting like 75% conversion rate, which is
Mm-hmm.
extremely high in my industry.
Yeah, well done.
And my conversion rate on property was about 1%. I thought, ditch that, give it to
Yeah, I
somebody
think
who's
that says everything, doesn't it?
yeah, give it to somebody it's complex. The people that do that, they do it very well and they know it inside out. So that was why I came up with the concept of the finance hub. I thought, well, years and years ago, you went to your bank for your business account, your personal account, your personal mortgage, your business mortgage. Some banks even do pensions investments as well.
Mhm.
So all those things you walked in and you got under one roof, or if you didn't get all of it, your bank manager generally said, I know a guy that does pensions as well. Let me point you in that direction.
Mhm.
And I could foresee that that was going to go. I
Mhm.
foresee that I thought the banks were going to go, which they are. They're closed.
Mhm.
Most little towns now don't even have a bank anymore.
Mm.
So I seen that was happening, and I thought, well, why not create a space where people can come
Mm-hmm.
and they can talk about all elements of their financial worries or needs or requirements
Mm-hmm.
to one place. And whatever that requirement may be, then we can pass them on to the person who's really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I set about them putting together the model, and it's
Mm-hmm.
well, probably 4 years in the making now, 3.5 years open.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did try to not do it because I was like, your business is really good. You're getting to a stage in your life, everything's nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And then this thing woke me up at 3 o'clock every night, going, you've got to do this. You've got to do
I
this.
love it. I love it. And any regrets? Was it a good decision?
Oh yeah, yeah, every day. No, it's not. I love it because the, the the true value is only really starting to come out of it now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it took longer, as it always does. Then you
Oh, always takes longer.
yeah, and I think people just didn't get it, but now they get it. So
Mm-hmm.
now they ring and they go, "I want a meeting with you, right? I need to sort out my business and that. But by the way, my mortgage is going to come up in the next year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Being a business owner, they can't just go into a high street and get
Yeah, it's tricky.
it's really tricky. You need a really good broker that can also guide you a year before your mortgage to say, right,
Yes.
my mortgage is due up next year, and I've already knew exactly how my business needed to look, how profitable it needed
Mm-hmm.
to be, how much, profits I needed to declare, in order to get the mortgage that I want the next time round.
Yeah.
And most of my clients are business owners,
Yeah.
so they have multiple requirements. So they say, right, that's my mortgage. I need to, let's deal with the business loans now, but I need you to sort my mortgage. Or they come and they say, I've been renting this building for 10 years and I want to buy it. Do you do
Mm-hmm.
commercial mortgages? Yes, we do. Okay, so we can help them with all of that. Then we say, well, what about your business? What's your pension scheme look like? What about your staff? What sort of
Mm-hmm.
wages are they? So we can bring in then our pensions and investment specialists, and we can bring them in to not only help the owner of the business out to make sure that he can be as tax efficient
Mm-hmm.
with his own earnings and his own pensions and investments, but also for his staff. And there's ways now of companies being more tax efficient by putting money into their staff's pensions. um so or we go in and we educate their staff, which is
Mm.
nice to kind of do for the
Yeah, love that. So
so
listen, when you started up the Finance Hub, you've got this brand new business. You've taken on a big, shiny central Tunbridge Wells office.
Mhm.
You've got a small team, like an office manager. You've got costs.
Yeah,
How did that feel with that sort of investment into the potential of what this could be
yeah,
as a seasoned business owner?
that's the big regret. You go, why did I go back to having all these costs again? But as I said, when I launched that office, it was about, and it still is about, the place, so
Yeah,
somewhere to come.
yeah,
We've
very visible,
yeah, I'm a people person, and I believe people want to talk to people, not a
always.
Zoom call. And it's fine. We can all jump on a quick Zoom call to say, "What are you trying to get?" Okay, yeah, we'll meet soon, but you know, let,
Hmm.
but it is about people, and that's why I wanted to create a space where people could come in and actually feel relaxed, because I do believe that money is like the scariest thing to some people.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, I think a lot of people listening to this will resonate with that.
And the concept of the finance hub is actually, my logo is let's talk. It's
Mm,
not let's sell you a financial product.
hmm.
I'll give you an idea. I might have somebody comes in and they'll say, look, we've got a lot of money tied up in investments.
Hmm.
And I'm a little bit concerned because obviously the governments keep changing and the tax laws keep changing. And have I done the right thing by doing that? Because my mate has loads of property. He's a property portfolio.
Mm,
Well, he's no money in his pensions, and he's
yeah.
never actually. And I'm thinking, do I do a bit of that or a bit of that? And normally you go to like an IFA and get
Hmm.
get one advice from them, and then you go to a mortgage broker.
Mm,
Oh yeah, no, to take your money out and put it into property.
yeah. And
Well,
the advice is the opposite.
Yeah,
between the
idea
IFA
of
and the
the finance
mortgage broker.
club, is you can meet those two people at the same time if you want. You can meet them individually, but there's no selling. It's about, and that's why
Genuine advice.
that's why I put on a lot of events, and you've been to many of my events, and they're not always about finance, it's education,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
thank you, because I have met some of my favorite clients at your events, actually. I'm not going to name drop on here, but yeah, you've had some brilliant people.
That's what I love. I love bringing people together.
Oh my God, I met my own business idol at one of your events. So thank you for that.
Oh, no problem, no
Love
problem.
it, love it. So listen, what strategies have you used to grow the Finance Hub? We need to wrap up fairly soon.
Yeah,
So
okay, no problem. So the as I said, it has moved and changed a little bit, and we've had our affiliates. So the affiliates are the members, and they pay a membership fee effectively, and to be a member of the Finance Hub, and they've changed as well because I realised actually that one IFA can't be all things to everybody. So again, it's moved around, um, and now it's really just the strategy going forward is about opening multiple sites. So
yeah,
in February, we opened in London and we opened in Canterbury.
yep.
Very,
Congrats.
thank you. Very different, a totally different model. Even though Tunbridge Wells did the job for me, it gave me the launch I needed. With those other I was like, I don't actually need all this big space all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and the cost of that big space as well.
Yeah, so effectively gone for a smaller office, almost like a shared office, but with an event space. So the one in London, which we're about to do 4 events in the next 2 months. Well, I'm going to get through that. Is there's a super auditorium, takes up to 70 people, and that cost me 300 quid for the event.
Oh my God, it's amazing what you can get, isn't it?
So yeah, so it's like actually I realized I don't have to have, which I was like, if I had to, I would have had to go out for investment because my plan is to open throughout the UK, and I couldn't have afforded to open what I opened in Tunbridge Wells, all over the UK. So the new model I think is going to work.
Yeah, and I have to say there's a lot to sort of pick up on there, because the model that we start our business with often needs to evolve to allow us to scale. And that's a brilliant example of something working up until a point, and then you need to change it and do it a little bit differently to take it to the next level.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
exciting times.
The joys of running businesses.
So listen, one last question for you. What is the one thing you wish you'd known before embarking on your business journey?
Oh my goodness. I think I wished I had been 25 years older and as wise as I am now.
But you wouldn't be as wise as you are now, because you've learned that wisdom along the way.
I think educating myself more. Like I have never read a business book or self-help book.
Wow.
No, I know, because I was listening to your podcast this morning and they were shooting names of all these books, and I was like,
Ooh, what's that?
oh, so yeah, I think educating myself more would have been better instead of just making mistakes. Just making the mistakes and all the money that's cost me, that maybe I should have educated myself a bit more by listening to other people's, or maybe I'm just a bit too cocky as well. I go, oh, I'll do it my way,
Quietly confident, let's say. So listen, I'm just going to quickly pick up on the making all the mistakes, because one conversation we had before we got on here, I gave you a little warning that I might ask about a time that you'd failed. And really interesting that's just not a word that really vibes with you.
No, I didn't like it, did
You
I?
didn't like it at all.
I was like, don't use that. It's negative. I don't even like the feel of it because I don't believe I've failed, and that's not being cocky. Yeah. I believe, yes, there are times I've got rid of and sold businesses, um, uh, for reasons that maybe I couldn't take it to the next level, and I felt, do you know what? I've done everything I wanted to do with this, and I don't believe I've got the ability to take it to the next level, so I'm going to sell it to somebody who's going to do that. So I don't see that as a failure.
No.
I see it as a challenge.
Yeah, love it. Love it. So listen, multiple businesses, well, two now, Lending Made Simple and the Finance Hub. Where is the best place to connect with you and find out more about each of those businesses? Would it be LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is the best, yeah. Or the financehub.money is the website.
Okay, financehub.money.
Money, yeah, and log on and register so you get kept up to date with our newsletters, and also keep an eye on there for the events, because so we hold, it's not always about finance, like we're holding an event about are you going to grow through acquisition, and I bring in experts. So I have an accountant talking about how you value a business, what are you buying, with a solicitor talking about why do you need a solicitor when you're buying a business, and how do you finance it. But also this time I'm bringing in a guy who this team of accountants, a solicitor and myself, and we've helped him through acquisitions, and now he's going to talk about his mistakes he made.
Love it. Love it. And honestly, people make so many mistakes buying and selling businesses. If you've never done it before, it's always good to get the right advice around you to make sure you don't cost yourself in the process.
Yeah, or you buy something and the skeletons in the closet, you're in trouble because your name's now over the door, so
absolutely. What a note to end on. Skeletons in the closet. Gillian, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
Oh, no, and thank you. I've really enjoyed it. You know how nervous I was. I don't really like these things, but I've loved it.
I'm glad.
Thank you for listening today. If you like what you hear, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. Even better, come connect with me, Ruth Ferreira, on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'd love to get to know you.